Hey folks, I don't know if I'm a little bit late today. It's been a very interesting day to say the least. Um, all right, okay, there we are. Welcome to Food for Action. Uh, I almost feel like it's a show. I'm your host, OBIE Morant. Anyways, I'm a little late signing on today. It's been a tough physical day for me, so keep me in your prayers, those of you who pray. Um, I have this chronic Lyme disease that I've been battling for lots of years, and so it's a little tough sometimes. But you know, I believe God. He provides all the ways, and He makes sure that when I do overcome this disease, then um, I'll be able to have one heck of a testimony to tell folks. So I apologize again for being a little late. You're watching Food for Action, and this is something that I came up with almost what I appears to be accidentally, but maybe God did this. I came up with because I was very upset after the George Floyd scenario, and I was gonna just type something in uh, one particular night, and then I couldn't type. My fingers like froze up on me, and the next thing you know, um, um, this thing was born. And I just want to make sure first that because I want to try to start doing this uh, in a what's the word? Um, I don't know. You know how they do it on TV. So what I wanted to do first is just make sure that everybody understands why I do this, and I actually put a little thing on the page, the OB underscore SBTSBC, that you can click on anytime you want to. But I put the little mission statement, which is that I and we, and that means anybody that engages in the conversation, acknowledges and express the racial divide, racism, oppression, exploitation, systemic racism, and violence against black women, black men, and black youth in the United States and all over the world. And I and we will proactively help create a path to a true united state in America. And obviously by that, I mean that the state of America right now is kind of crunchy. And a lot of it, there's, pandemic, but a lot of this is built off of some inequality issues and, and violence and rights that aren't equal, that a lot of people believe they are, but they aren't. But today, I'm actually going to do something different from normal. If you were around the second time I did this, you would know that at the end of talking about the difference between racism and prejudice, when I did that, at the end of it, I actually felt necessary for, hey, Paulie, what's up, my dog? I felt that it was necessary for people to grasp the real seriousness, the heart wrenching um, thing and emotions that we as black people or brown people, um, what we go through, and a lot of people don't acknowledge all of the things that have been going on, and one of them, obviously to the forefront now, is all about the murders, uh, the violence against black men, women, and youth um, by police. Again, not that we hate police, not that we think all police are bad, but there are some bad ingredients. What's up, Wendy? What's up, Mike? That's my home girl. We want to acknowledge that these things exist. Um, in every group of people, there's and some people even say in their families they have a bad seed or what do they call it, a black something. I don't know why they say black, but but um, but anyways, and so each group has this, and what we know is that we as people who love God or whatever you believe in, whatever positive thing that motivates you, you use that to want to create an environment of peace and love and happiness and caring and so on. And you want to nurture those feelings. And when we don't, then uh, we're we're taking for granted the blessings that we've been given in life. And I know I've been given a smillion of them. And so we know that we have to, at some time, we have to slap ourselves in the face or let somebody else slap you if you need it, and wake up and acknowledge that there are things that are seriously wrong. So at the end of the second one of these that I did, to get back to my point, is that I read off a list of names of black and brown men, women, and youth. Not even a complete list, but a partial list, and I posted it on my regular profile. It's on Instagram, and it's on this page, the OB underscore SBTSBC page, and it's a list of those folks that have been murdered um, in unjustified, unwarranted scenarios in this country, and so I put that list in. But today I wanted to do a different kind of list. So at the end of what I'm going to talk about today, and I hope everybody, taps in on this, because again, this is about a conversation. It doesn't do any good for just me to talk about the things that I think about and the things that I study from the things that you guys send me. It has to be where everybody's interacting back and forth. And so I'm going to be scrolling through here like I did the past few times, and I want to see people feeding in input. We made, I'll tell you a quick story before I move on, is that Paul, there was a person who was asking a bunch of questions while you were on and typing these questions in, and he actually got in touch with me later and said that he wants to get together with you and have lunch. That's the kind of change that I'm talking about, where at least people are opening up to express themselves. Doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter what you believe in. If you believe that all crocodiles should float in the air, if you believe that everyone should roll around with 3 guns, 2 on their hips, like in the westerns, and 1 in the boot, like whatever you believe, I want to create this to have a conversation. And without the conversation happening, there isn't going to be a lot of change in a lot of ways, because there can be a bunch of protests. And if I was healthy enough, I'd be out in those too. But there has to be different avenues that we can subscribe to. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to engage in a personal relationship level. We have to be willing to open ourselves up to inviting some other information in. Because I understand, growing up, that there are so many people that don't know about certain things that black folk have to go through, because they've never been around the environments. And by the time they see somebody in school, they're just playing on the playground or sitting there doing math, or in detention, like me, or see somebody on TV or meet somebody at work or whatever, somebody in the restaurant, those regular everyday things. But they don't know the experience behind it. And so we want to make that be shed light on that. But we also want to shed light on the other side of things, why do people hate, and why do people grow up with certain prejudices and racist values? We want to know that. I want to know why you hate me, whoever you is. This is just a but quotations. I want to know that. I want to know, and everybody should want to know. The mafia said it best. It's like, you keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Because you want to know. I want to know the person that hates me to death just because of the way I look, or whatever, whatever they don't like. I want to know that. I want to understand that, because maybe God will give me something to say that will allow that person to see another side of it, and then all of a sudden we close the gap on a bridge, and we're able to talk and exchange ideas, and that's what the true life that God wants us to do. That's why He gave up His Son on the cross, because He wanted to wipe away sin, but He also wanted to bring people together in love. But you can't do it in this country because of how long and the foundations of the ugly things that are happening today didn't happen today. It happened way yesterday. And the problem that we have with a lot of our white brothers and sisters is that, oh, by the way, if anybody doesn't know, my mom's white, best superhero woman in the world. But what we we're in a place where we have to be able to we have to be able to make ourselves accessible to other people's plights and other people's stories. Because if we don't, then there's no way to understand it. You're not going to understand me, and I'm not going to understand you. And that's an unfortunate thing when people decide that they're going to close their eyes to anything in the world except what they believe. And I used to be guilty of that. I'm sure most people are like that. But when it comes to very deep things like relationships with your fellow man and woman, that is the problem when you can't overcome those barriers. And so that's what I'm hoping that this is going to do. But today I'm going to do something that's kind of, I would say, a little different than than um, than what I usually do. I am going to, as I was saying earlier, about the list that I read of the young black men, black women, black children uh, that have perished at the hands of police. Um, Today I'm going to read a different list when I'm done, and that is a list of Facebook friends that I have invited to come on here and talk and have the conversation. And instead of accepting or denying, because I don't expect everybody to join into this thing. This is just here if you want it. But I've invited these people, and the reason I'm going to read their names is because of two things. One, the ingredients of things that they post, and they obviously don't care who sees it because they're putting it on Facebook, which means it's out in the open for everybody to see. But they subscribe to some, I don't even want to say borderline hateful, but I'll say that they're definitely a chasm to hate. It's definitely the foundation. And these folks never show up here. And I request a million times. Every time they put something nasty on my, send me nasty messages and whatever, and and I'm going to read you some of the posts too, because I want everybody to understand the dichotomy of what I'm dealing with. I'm trying to hopefully be an arm to create something that builds peace, love, and hope, and love, and then I get, you guys don't even know. I had actually the other day one of my friends from Charleston, actually musician friends, plays bass. He actually messaged me in the middle of me conversing with somebody else about something horrible that they said and that they kept on saying. And he said that he appreciated me. He didn't understand how because everybody knows me. Well, at least the old me before I, got so weak, but physically. But but this person was saying a bunch of nasty, hateful things, and what I did was I just kept responding in kind of loving, brotherly way, and offering information and so on. And so again, it can get ugly, but I don't let that deter me. So my point is that today I'm going to read through a bunch of actual posts. If you would like to see them, I have no problem. Let me know, and I can connect you to those conversations. But after reading those things, I'm going to try to explain some things in between, and then I'm going to also I'm going to read the names of the people that make these posts or subscribe to these posts. That a lot of them, I know them well, and could never have imagined in my wildest dreams that they would be taking part in these kind of conversations and laughing about it and everything else. So I'm going to go through that. But again, let me also say that there's a dual purpose to this, because I also, when reading this, I want you to pay close attention, and it's going to be, after I record this, I'm copying it over, so you're going to see it on Facebook and the page, and they might be some of your friends on Facebook. As a matter of fact, most of them, after I did so many days worth of this, and so going through these and going through the friends and then the mutual friends part of it, most of these people have hundreds of friends in common with me. So that means anybody that's popping their head in and out of this today, I'm sure that you know some of these people. So I want you to know who you're dealing with. I want you to understand exactly who you're facing, who is shaking your hand and spitting behind your back. I want you to understand that these people do not want to come on here for I don't know what reason. I could if you really need to see this, I can show you their messages and I can show you my responses and I can show you. I'll give you unedited, not like them them papers that people do in the government. Everything is plain to see, and you will see that I have begged almost for these people to join the conversation and or join a conversation to helpfully heal what's inside of them that is making them believe these nasty things. So again, I'm going to read some of the posts, and I'm going to, at the very end, I'm going to tell you all of the people. And let me say this: this is just an edited list that I'm going to give you of the people. It is not all the people, because those people have their other friends who they shared the post with, and posting post. You know how it flies around. So this is going to be a small version, a little sample platter, if that would be a good phrase to use, of these people that are subscribing to things that are not peaceful things, are not loving things, are not bridge the gap, bring people together things. And probably, if they are some of your friends, they are definitely not letting you know that they feel that way. So, let's see. Let me check some notes here. I started having to write notes down because I keep forgetting stuff, and that sucks. Oh, I'm also going to, let's see, I'm going to turn to this page. I'm going to, before I begin any of that, I'm going to give some definitions of things. Because to me, I think it's important that if we're going to have the discussion, then we know what we're referring to. And which is what I did in the first episode, I'll call it. I went through and I gave multiple definitions from multiple sources for the definition of racism and the definition of prejudice, which are two completely different things that sometimes it gets convoluted when people talk and they throw the wrong thing out there. And words are very, very important. Not only can they hurt people, but they can hurt your cause. They can hurt, if you don't know the definition of a word, then if you say the wrong one, that's when people that are haters or people that are against you, that's what they can jump on in order to be divisive, or you know what I mean. And so we don't want to give people that kind of energy. Again, we want to bridge gaps. We want to talk to people. We want to help people heal. We want to heal ourselves. We want to get information from each other, so on and so forth. But again, if you don't know the meaning of the word and you don't use it in the right context, then guess what? Your whole message could just go down the drain if it's somebody that, especially if it's somebody that doesn't agree with you, because then they just kind of change the whole premise, and then they turn it into a scenario where, you know, hey, you're not so smart. What are you talking about? Because you messed up a word or two. So we're going to clarify that through all the weeks that I get the pleasure of doing this. We're going to periodically put on, I'm going to periodically give definitions of things. And a lot of times they're going to be repetitive because I think it's important when we're talking about these kind of issues, when we're talking about racial problems, when we're talking about that's so deep. It's a divide that's horrible, and God did not intend for it. And so when we're talking about those things, there are certain words that people use that have to be used over and over and over again. And so we want to make sure that we understand the right meaning. So first word I'm going to give you is opinions. An opinion is a view or judgment not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. So, let's see what I put here. Do we not want to take? Okay, right. So for example, should we not want to use knowledge and facts in racial complexities, racial problems? We need to have facts and knowledge put together in order to substantiate our point or our view, so people can understand that, because an opinion on its own, there's so many sayings about it that are so bad, so I don't want to say one of those things, but opinions, everybody's allowed to have them, just like, okay, so I can't say it because I don't talk like that anymore, but the point is that everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's what we see people say all the time. This is my opinion. This is my opinion. What they're actually saying to you is, This is the things that I think and feel based on no facts and no knowledge. That, my friends, is a sad thing that people are proud to say all the time. I have so many people that say that to me. Hey, I'm entitled to my own opinion. Yes, you are. But remember that the definition of opinions is a view or judgment not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. And again, not necessarily. So that means that there could be things like life experiences, or sometimes you borrowed some definition from a friend, or you actually looked something up. But part of your whole view is a little suspect because it drops out at a certain point because there's no knowledge and uh, facts based in it. Okay. Next word, we're going to go off of that to the definition for judgment. Judgment is the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. I'm going to repeat that again. Judgment is the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible excuse me, sensible conclusions. So if I would try to spell that out to somebody, that means that you just think about a judge in a courtroom, and that person, unless you're dealing with a jury, but so if it's a simple case with no jury involved, then that judge is sitting there and should be making decisions that are considered. In other words, they're thought about and processed in ways that make sure that there's an equal, just understanding of it. That there's a conclusion that comes to it. And again, then I say, and sensible conclusion. That means that it has to make sense, obviously. So anything that I'm saying here, I'm not saying it to belittle anybody or to. I don't want anybody to think that I'm talking condescending. Probably everybody knows these words. I'm just spelling this out because of what people do in conversation, especially when it comes to talking about race relations. Okay? Accusations is the next word, and that is a charge or claim that someone has done something illegal or wrong. So, tie that in again. So, a charge or claim that someone has done something illegal or wrong. An accusation. That means if I don't, I'm telling you that what you're doing is bad or it's wrong, and and or illegal, um, but yet we do this to each other, right? So we look at somebody, um, and we say, oh, that's the bad person, whoever it may be, and so we actually don't even use it in the right context, or people. Some folks don't use it in the right context because they just are just accusing, making accusations all day long, when not even knowing if something wrong or bad happened. They do it based off of the first word, opinions. So I try to get some words that are relative to each other to make sure that you see how I'm trying to tie it all in. Next word is hate. The word hate means a feel intense or passionate dislike for someone. To have strong aversion to something. So, um, so that means obviously that we can just make it simple. Somebody that I dislike very, very much for whatever my reasons are, then negative things come in response to that. Words, faces. We all know about faces, making mad faces and whatever to show your feelings. But and so we act upon those things in a physical or verbal way that is negative. That is hate. Okay. So so now I'll move on. Let's see. View. Somebody's view. Remember when I tell everybody all the time that that I want to hear opinions. I want all your opinions, your views, your vantage point, things how you see it from your vantage point, your opinions. I want everything. Um, I want us to become very open with each other because, or whoever your group of friends are, be open with folks so that you can trade things because opinions and views and Those things can change once you get more knowledge about certain things in your system. And that goes to any subject in the world. If it's your job, if it's somebody else's job, whatever it is, school, a wise person, when they gain more knowledge, usually their opinions change. Doesn't mean that they're good or bad opinions. It just means that their opinion, because it has knowledge attached to it now and experience now attached to it, it's gonna be a more educated one. Which we also know that means that if a person becomes more and more hateful, or more and more nasty, or more and more mean as they get more knowledge, that's a problem. And so, if you know anybody that applies to, put them in prayer, because that is one of the terrible things that does happen a lot of times. And I'm not saying most all the time, but a lot of times. Next word, morals. I can't see this one. Okay, morals. So, especially concerning what is right or wrong, excuse me, right or prudent, that can be derived from a story, a piece of information, or an experience. I'm sorry I left out this first word, but a lesson, especially one concerning what is right, prudent, that can be derived from a story, a piece of information, or experience. So, just like when we tell our kids bedtime stories, and there's the Little Red Riding Hood, and she ate one thing and ate one food, and it was too hot, and one food it was too cold, and one food was just right. Well, eating all everybody's food, I don't know. But anyways, the point is that there's a moral to the story. In other words, there's something pure that hopefully uh, abstract from the story, so that you have a lesson that applies to it, and you know those things. Last word. Oh no, last three words. So the next one is injustice, the lack of fairness or justice, excuse me, or unjust or occurrence. So, um, so that would be, you know, only whites drinking water fountain. Let's see what else. Uh, if you get pulled over and you get a ticket for speeding, but you weren't speeding, so we can place that anywhere we want to. But you understand the point. It's that it's not just, it's not right, it's not fair. That is injustice. Okay, racism. We're going to go to only a small definition instead of the 100 definitions that I gave you last time. One, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. Again, this definition in itself shows you that racism and prejudice are two different things. So anybody who missed that, I think that was the second episode of this where I literally broke down both of those words. So again, I'll read that one more time before I go to the next word. Racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. Next, oh, excuse me, just in case people don't know marginalized, this was a little bullet point. A person, group, or concept treated as insignificant or peripheral. In other words, somebody that you don't really find any worth with. And usually when there's racism happening, that's usually what's going on, is that people are figuring that they're above or smarter or better than or superior to whatever, and so anybody that is not of that group they look down upon them, they cast aspersions on them, and so that is where that's called marginalized. Prejudice, preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience. Simple enough. When I was little and my mom wanted me to eat liver, and I thought that liver smelled gross, I didn't want to eat it. No, mom, please, no, thank you. No, you got to try some. And of course, and for one time in my life, I was right, because it really tasted like, hot garbage. So, just to put a little humor in here, real quick. So that would be prejudice. Okay, so now that I'm done with those definitions, again, I'm going to tell you that what I'm about to do now is I am about to on my phone, my little cell phone. I am about to read some things that are posted on my timeline from people that are my Facebook friends. The things that I chose to grab and screenshot and share with you are things that that were repeated hundreds of times, and so and as they were appeared in my Facebook, I would comment and I would try to hold a conversation with the person that is sharing this information, and invite them to come on here and try to be warm and welcoming. Come on here and this is for everybody to express themselves and to hear and to be heard. You guys see me type that all the time. So so the point is that I'm going to read some various posts by some of my Facebook friends. At the end of me reading this, I am probably, going to talk about more stuff. If you guys have anything that you need to say, please continue typing in, and I'll remember to scroll every now and then. But at the end of reading these posts, I am going to read to you a partial list of people that take part in these conversations, and that maybe some of your friends, just like for me, it was surprising to see some people in these conversations of people that I know. I think I told you guys in the first one that there are people involved in this that were parents of kids my daughter's age that were on field trips when I would chaperone and whatever, and these people, I would have no clue that they felt this way about people that were of another ethnic group or color or nationality, and so it was very shocking and heartbreaking to see this and watch these conversations. I guess go on in the dark is what people would say, and so I'm going to begin this now. So please bear with me, and I'll try to every now and then. It's just in case somebody else is signing on. I'll let you know what I'm reading. So uh, here is a post by a person that used to um, knows about the music stuff that I used to do, and this person was always pretty cool, you know. And so here is his post. This is it says the DNC, Democratic National Folk, is up to something dark and dangerous. Joe Biden is not capable of being president, and everyone knows it, including them, which I guess he's referring to the Democrats. And then he goes on to say, and this racism bull, the S word, isn't gonna work. Here's a bombshell. Your and you Democrats had 8 years of a so-called black president. This is what he said. A so-called black president. Turns out he is the number, I think he meant to say number one, but he didn't put a number after it. So, anyways, turns out that he is the number whatever enemy who just shifted on black folks. He divided us. So this person is trying to imply that President Obama was trying to separate the races, be divisive racially. This is what this guy says. This is not me. This is this post that I will share with anybody who wants to see it. Then he goes on to say the most corrupt and worst president we've ever had. So here we are sitting in the times of Trump, and this person is saying that Obama was the most corrupt and worst president we've ever had. Then he says, I thought he was mixed, referring to his race, but he says, still have no idea except I label him as a New World Order Muslim who is still effing with the race cards. This is this person who was cool with me, who saw me doing music stuff, who I was always cool to, and then he says, wake up, there isn't a racial problem. There's a playing you like puppets problem. Starts with Barack Obama. This is the post from this guy, and when I read this, I actually, before I started doing this, I didn't spend a lot of time on Facebook, except for the posting when I was trying to get help raising money for my chronic Lyme disease treatments and things like that because I was able to for a while I wasn't able to work, and then started the fundraising thing and so on, which you guys can still give to it, to help for further things. But all that aside, so I knew this guy then. I when I read this, man, my heart fell. Even though we weren't close friends, it was just like this is a person who gave me dap. Anybody who don't know what that is? That's with the fist bumps and hand whatever. So it really shocked me, and so um, I keep reading. So I start to follow some of the things that he's saying because I want to know, is this real? Here's another post from the same person. He says racism is some BS agenda move. I don't know what this part means. Move by left. So I guess he means started by leftists to conquer and divide and stir the S word. He says it's intentional, which I guess he means intention, but has been planned, and many false flags, including murder conveniently with clear audio, video, and perfect fake timing. I'm done with falling for anything else. It's straight BS to him. Uh, he said, I'm still, I don't know about this one. He says, uh, flat, many false flags, including murder conveniently. So he's saying that people got murdered on purpose. They sacrificed their life to the police so that they can create something called racism. This is what people are writing. People that you know. I'm going to prove it to you in a little bit. Um, okay, here we go. I think this is the last one that I have. Oh no, I got two more from him. You guys have to know that these are the things that people are talking about, saying, and it is craziness. But here it is. This same fella says it's no conspiracy anymore. This is everything you've been told by parents, grandparents, elders in general, and discussed in church most of your life. He says Satan's people sitting right up under our congressional Senate government's noses. Then he says, check out the satanic dates coming up in June. I don't know what that was about. I think he was talking about Juneteenth, and I think that's incredible for him to say. But um, he goes on to say, oh, and the satanic church is the most popular religion by its members flocking to join. I don't know what satanic church he's speaking of, but then he says every tactic you've witnessed has been planned way before now. Get your guns. Hold on again. He says, get your guns, protect your family, and by all means stand up for God. So after all those hateful things that he said in the previous posts, he now says, get your guns and stand up for God. He has foretold you was coming. Now, if more than obvious God is real and in control, he keeps his promises. Okay, but then before that he says, get your guns. So he's claiming that God will do it, but I guess God needs some backup. I don't know. I've never heard of that before. Hey, Mandy, no problems. I'm just reading some posts. I don't know if you heard why I'm doing this. If you do, if you did hear, then let me know. Type something in there. But again, for anybody who didn't hear, I'm reading posts from people that I know, from people that were cool to me, and I never would have known that these were the things that were in their minds, on their hearts. This is how they felt about me and others like me. And so I'm reading posts, and then when I'm done reading the posts, I'm going to read a list of the people that either wrote these or the people that and people that were involved in the conversations because of this incredible what do they call it a necessary evil because of Facebook and oh you didn't okay I'll tell you more because of this whole um, technology thing which I'm still trying to learn but because of it we did get something cool out of it, at least at the present time, which is Facebook is awesome. I used to hate Facebook, but now it's awesome because now I can go on and I have almost 5,000 friends, which is really neat. So many people that gave to my cause, chronic Lyme disease that I suffer from. But anyways, but I have so many people, and I'm able to literally, I can just sit down, open a computer, log in. Sometimes I never logged out, and I'll log in, and then I get to listen to these conversations that I don't know if they forgot that they friended me. I'm not sure, but I know that they probably wouldn't write that if they knew I was there, because the last time I saw them, we were high fiving and giving fist bumps and whatever else. So let me get a sip of coffee. Hold on a second. And it is coffee. Okay, so okay, so where was I? Okay, the guy said, "Oh, Mandy." Oh, so I'm reading these posts. Yeah, so I just told you that, but the purpose is not to target these people. The purpose is because I want everybody that is wanting to know these things, understand racism, and want to share lives and experiences. I want these people. That means everybody that logs in or watches this later. I want us all to be having this conversation and understanding the sides. Where do people come from? Why do they feel hate? Why do they feel love? Why do they feel, whatever you feel and whatever you believe? I want to know. And so I would believe that just like me, when you find out who wrote some of this stuff, they might be on your friends list, and you had probably not a clue that this was one of your friends feeling this way about people. All right. So let's see. So he goes, "This is everything you've been told by your parents, elders, so on and so forth." Okay, Satan's people sitting right there up there, blah 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 blah. Okay, where was that? Okay. Uh, so I wanted to repeat this part. He said, "Get your guns, protect your family, and by all means stand up for God." All the hateful things he said prior, and then he says that. Uh, so very interesting. All right, this is the last one by this particular person, and then I'm going to tell you who he is. So he says, "Atlanta, my home, my truthful perspective. The Atlanta police were nicer, and blacks were more privileged to them, and straight a-holes to me," which he's referring to himself. So let me see. How do I? Black Atlanta police were nicer to him. So I guess he's saying the Atlanta police were nicer to him than black people, black people were more privileged. I don't know how he got that out of it, but they were eight. But I guess black folks were a-holes to him. So maybe this is why he feels this way. Maybe he got into some confrontation with some black folks, and he was, maybe outnumbered with wherever he was. I don't know, but he's not sharing the story because I've tried to talk to him about it. I've tried to get him to come on here, and so neither of those things has happened. But anyway, so then he says so they roughed him up a few times for no reason, and took his iPhone and his first beer, okay, and his drugs. Wait a minute, hold on. I didn't even notice this part. Okay, he says they roughed him up, and it's not funny. I just realized that the weirdness of this one. They roughed him up a few times for no reason, which is wrong. Nobody should do that. But they took his iPhone and his beer, and his drugs, and his jewelry, and even his belt. He filed a complaint for waiting for his stuff, I guess, and he filed an insurance claim. I hope he didn't file a claim for his drugs, but I don't know. From the senseless of some of this stuff, maybe he did file an insurance claim for his drugs. I don't know. But the duty officer told him to stand in line. They had hundreds of lawsuits. Another time he was stabbed by a roommate in the same house he was living in over him losing poker. He was black, and the judge gave him a PR bond and let him come back the next day, the next effing day. So now this is the guy who's writing, he whipped that guy's butt back. Uh, he got $100,000 bond, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and so F that racial stuff. So I'm just looking at the story that he just told, and it looks like he probably has a history of drugs and such and so on. So there's probably a reason why he got more uh, in more trouble when he did the violent thing. But all that's neither here nor there. The point is that I'm saying that maybe some of this is some of the reason that he has some hate for black people, which ties together with being a Democrat. I'm not sure why. I do understand why, but I'm just saying figuratively. I don't know why people do that when they're talking about black people. It's just automatically black people Democrats. Um, there's black people that are Republicans, black people that are in the middle, independents. There's all kind of black folk doing things. So you know, it's not every black person is the same. This morning sounds like he needs some help. You're correct about that, Amanda. All right, let's see. So that's all for him. So his name, I told you I was going to tell you this one. His name is Scott Hall. So if you look him up on Facebook, very simply, if you like I tried to punch it in on a different account that I have that's personal, and so when I punched his name up, it does come up. So you'll see it. I don't know if you can see this. Hold on. Which way do I do it? Okay, here you go. This is him. Now, by the way, just in case you wanted to know, I checked all this out, and because of the fact that he shared this on Facebook and posted it to Facebook, where he has his friends, and I'm one of his friends, then I am not committing any kind of crime or anything chargeable in any way, shape, or form by sharing this with you. It would be just as if I shared it by hitting the buttons instead of shared it in your face like that. So again, this is him. Oops, I can't do it. I probably should have practiced this beforehand. But this is the guy, Scott Hall, and so you can look him up and see some of the other posts that he's done. And again, it's sad because, like I said before, he was a person that I knew and would have never known that about him. I don't. I used to be a little bit more, on edge and didn't trust people, but nowadays, God has done something good in me, and so I tend to, not just judge you like that and just think, okay, this guy, whatever, looks away, and so that's what he is. So you know, so he fooled me. So I guess I got. So, anyways, um, okay. So in a minute. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. If not, I'm going to move on. So this is for this next part. Oh, here, let me read this again, because Manda, you missed this part. I want to say this again so that people understand what this page is for, what it's about. So it is called Food for Action, which I based that phrase off of where people usually say food for thought. I wanted to take it to the next level where people are actually putting the thoughts into motion and making the thoughts do something. And so, given a conversation, when we have those, for example, I know now that several people that have been on here are now talking to several other people that have been on here, and they weren't talking to each other prior. So that's what I'm attempting to do from my space. And once I can, get, maybe one day God will give me back to my old self that was very athletic and whatnot. But at that point, then I might be able to do this a different way by traveling to places and do this in person or something. So, but this is the mission statement, Mandy. I just wanted you to know this. This says, it's almost, I created it as a mission statement, but I also created it kind of like an agreement subliminally, in your mind. Nobody has to sign this. We're not becoming part of a whatever. But I wanted people to feel like they can attach themselves to this. And so I put I and we acknowledge and express the racial divide, racism, oppression, exploitation, systemic racism, violence against black women, black men, and black youth in the United States and all over the world. Furthermore, I and we will proactively help create a path to a true United State in America. Not United States of America, a United State. That means a way. That means that we're in a state right now of unrest. Through this, hopefully, we're creating another state so that we can bring the United States to a loving, at least communicating pathway, and then we're all talking, and that leads to whatever the next point would, that God wants us to go in, or whatever you believe in. But where do we go next? We created the path by starting the conversation. So I'm going to say that here and there because I want people to know that. All right, here is this was actually from the other night. So this person, um, this person, this is a woman, and this woman started maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe four, but she started commenting in some of the things that I would post. And everything that she posted was kind of combative, which to me, I'm think, that's the purpose. I want that. I want to go back and forth with people, not in a mean way. Like I said a few episodes ago, no bullying, no cursing people, no, don't. This is not a place to beat up on each other. It's a place to create, a pathway again. Um, so, so, um, so this person kept on posting negative things, and every time, and my daughter even realized it, my Munchkin, because she called me and she said, "Papa, what is this person? Do you know this person?" And I was like, "Well, actually, no." So this particular person I don't know so well, um, but all of a sudden she was putting a spin in a negative way, but the thing. Remember those things that I posted in black, and I might repeat them before I go. But where people will take something that you say and they just kind of flip it a little bit so that it sounds more convenient to their likings. Like when I start to talk about something and people try to tell me what I'm supposed to be talking about. I'm like, what? So, but anyway, so this young lady, she writes, um, watching AGT, which is America's Got Talent, and I see no racism. Now, before I move on, we know that Dwayne Wade, who plays basketball for the Miami Heat, well, he used to, he just retired. His wife, actress, she reported that there was racism happening behind the scenes on America's Got Talent, and let it out the bag, and everybody ran with it. It's all in the media and so on, and I don't know what the state of that whole thing is now, but I think there was going to be some court involved and whatever else. But and so that was the claim, and there was people to back up that claim. And so, but so this lady, she says she's watching that show, and she sees no racism. Very key point. I see no racism. So that means that it's how her eyes view it is is the only thing that counts. Because then she goes on to say, everyone has equal opportunities here in the USA. Yes, it's harder for some to achieve, but hard work pays off. If you just took little pieces of that statement, it would sound all, hey, this is what my mom said. If you work hard, you can get whatever you want, and those kind of phrases. And then we grow up and we realize that is not actually how it works. So when we're talking about race, there is a divisive and systemic scenario that underlines um, this America of ours that doesn't allow for black and brown folk to have the equal pathway to a certain place, especially places of power. Um, um, it doesn't allow the access to those things as easily as it does for white people in America. Now, before somebody jumps off the roof, I'm not saying that all white people have it easy. That's not the point of any of this. A lot of people try to swerve the conversation and say, well, why doesn't everybody matter? It's not talking about everybody doesn't matter. What we're talking about is the people that have been robbed of dignity, have been beaten, stepped on, looked aside, thrown aside, abused, neglected, underserved in the community, so on and so forth, that those people are standing up saying, here I am, we want the same opportunities and the same benefits and the same so on. We don't have a pathway to that. And so people, usually white, don't like it if they're racist people. They don't like it because they were comfortable without us being there. And for so long, there, a lot of black folks kind of, I don't want to say gave up, but started losing hope about how are we gonna get to this next level? How can I get out the door into that high-rise building for that particular job? I don't see a way to do it because education access is not the same. Quality of education isn't the same. Um, Obviously, we know this now. Fairness of policing is not the same. Fairness in the government and judicial system is not the same. Penalties are usually harsher for black folks than for white folks. I actually, on my next coming up Sunday, I'm going to go over some of that. I got numbers for you, facts and figures, so that you can see that that is the truth. But my point is that this is what this young lady, she had to say watching America's Got Talent, and I see no racism. This is her saying I see no racism, and her going on to say everyone has equal opportunities here in the USA. Why does she see it that way? Because she sees no racism. See, you gotta be smart enough to weave in and out of that. Did she intend to say it that way? I don't know, but I'll read some more of her stuff to you in a minute. So she doesn't see it because she doesn't see any racism to begin with. So if you're not acknowledging, which is the thing that I talk about every time I do this, is that if you don't acknowledge that racism exists, if you don't acknowledge that systemic racism exists, then there's no way that you're going to be part or a productive part of being the cure to this problem. All you're going to do is be sitting back talking about, oh, I don't see the racism. Oh, everybody can do it. It might be tougher for you, but it's tough for everybody. I don't, so so you know, and that's because you don't see it. But if you had to walk, I use the old expression or the old adage: if you had to walk a mile in my shoes, I guarantee you'd see it. You'd see that it exists. Not just because I look crazy, and not just because I got this long beard, but because literally, when I had no long beard and I used to dress in regular clothes, button down shirts, and try to look all nice, uh, the police in Hanahan didn't find a problem with smashing my head up against the car when we got pulled over for a traffic thing on the highway. But somehow or another, the other three white people in the car didn't have that happen to them. And it just happened to be that I was scared of the police, so I didn't even resist, or I barely said a word back then. So, so those things are existing because there is racism in America. Everybody has to acknowledge it, or there will be no cure to it. I want to look back. I talk to my Munchkin all the time about this. We talk almost every day, and and sometimes twice a day or three times. And I want to see the moment in America where I'm obviously going to be in heaven at that time, and I'm going to be flapping my wings and looking down on my daughter, my Munchkin, when she's old like me now. But I'm gonna look down on her, and then she has kids, and they have kids, and the next ones have kids, and when those kids, which would be my great 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 great, with plenty of greats on the end, um, grandchildren are walking around, and I'm looking at them, and they don't have to deal with any of this because through conversation, which will then hopefully lead to acts of of a positive proactive nature, then we will get rid of racism. But if we don't start now, if we don't jump on board the fixing it, acknowledging it train, then we're all going to be lost, and that's a sad thing. Let me see. Let me get to one of her other posts. Hold on a second. I have so much stuff on here. You guys don't understand how much homework I do for this stuff because I really want this to be part of the solution. All right, here we go. Uh, so we the other day, President Trump did the whole thing at the mountain with with the faces of the presidents on there. And hold on, let me see if I have the picture of it that I can show you. Oh, I must not have copied that picture. Well, anyways, so he was there at the Mount, whatever the heck it's called, I forget. And then at the same time, a lot of people started calling attention to the fact that land where that stone and the things is carved, that was it, or is still tribal sacred ground, and but of course at that time it didn't matter to white America because anything other than white wasn't cool anyway. It didn't matter, whatever. So whatever they wanted to do was what it is. And the actual people that worked on those carvings were slave owners or prejudice. I'm sorry, I said slave owners. I would say wanted to be slave owners. Anyways, but that's just an opinion. See, that's not based on fact. But they were Ku Klux Klan. That's fact. That worked on those carvings on Mount Rushmore. Now, so anyway, so this brought the same person. I posted something. I actually reposted something that my little brother, my almost twin, uh, posted on Facebook, and I just thought it was significant because again, I'm trying to create this conversation, and so I wanted to put this thing on there because it explains the history of Mount Rushmore. It explains the history of the Klansmen who carved those faces into that stone, and so this person, who I'll tell you her name in a little bit. This person says to the reply of that says, and if we didn't take it, the British would have. So meaning that if they didn't take that land um, from the Native Americans, then the British would have taken it, and then and then after taking that, then they'd have been like, I guess, to her opinion, is that Americans didn't take it, the British would have taken it. I don't understand how that could have happened, but that's obviously what she thinks. She also said, excuse me, you can see my eyes. Um, she also says, do you think people fighting over land and freedom would have just let American natives keep their land? I don't even understand why somebody would write that. You just admitted in that statement you're letting somebody keep their land. Why is that a conversation? Why is there even a conversation that's supposed to sound that makes any sense? That's where somebody says, uh, "We're conversing about land being taken from someone who lived on it, cultivated it, worked it before you got there." And you're saying the question is, do you think people fighting over land and freedom would have just let American natives keep their land? So that the conversation is no longer, was that their sacred land, and was that where they carved the faces into Mount Rushmore? Now the conversation has become, uh, you know, which people were going to just automatically take their land. I don't understand how people think this stuff up, but anyway, so there were several people that made whew, made really crazy comments in there, but we're now concentrating on her. Let's see, what else do I have from her? Oh, so to go up against or with the things that I said the other day, it says when I was talking about people who say, well, the racism, slavery, and all that, that's the past. We're not there anymore. We're here in the present, and we want to look to the future. So we shouldn't see race. We shouldn't see color. Blah blah blah. That sounds like a T-shirt or something, maybe, but that's not reality. The reality is that these things happen, and the foundation of this country and all of the systems there within were built off of the times where white America dominated a people that were black. And those people weren't even considered to be people, they were property. That has gotten us to where we are now. So if you do not acknowledge that, then you're not going to understand this. I mean, come on, think about your own lives. You have a child. Your child is born. Your child is a baby. Somebody who doesn't see that child since they were a baby sees them as a manager at Costco or something. They're like, wow, what happened? Well, that's what a lot of people are acting like now. like, wow, how did we get here? And then when they see the words of people talking about the oppression, injustice and oppression and so on, then they're like, oh no, that's the past. I can't, what do I have to do with that? So anyway, so she says, I can't live from the sins of my father. This is her, and she's explaining this to another person on here who was of an opposing opinion to her, and she says, I cannot live from the sins of my father. What he did and my ancestors did, I had no control over that. I prefer to live in the future where there's unity. Looking at this crazy world can't seem to happen because people want to live in the past. Uh, so that's a person that's a denier, in denial. That means that what you're saying is that the past doesn't matter. People are hurt and oppressed now, but let's not worry about why. You can do it just like anybody can. So there's no cause to the effect. Because in everything that happens in life, there's those two sides. There's cause and effect. Without a cause, there is no effect. If you want a sandwich, you got to cause your to get up and go make a sandwich. You can't just say sandwich, bring, and a sandwich pops into your hand. And if you can do that, please hit me up. My phone number is on Facebook. I want to learn that. So the point is so in life, when it comes to this racial divide, you can't say uh, there's no past. There's nothing that got us here. You have to say something got us here. If you have a Fortune 500 company, you have to say something got us here. It wasn't just company. I want to build a company, and then 2 days later you turn around and it's Fortune 500. It doesn't work like that. Bad things don't work like that. Good things don't work like that. Nothing in this world happens out of the blue. Blink, and it's there. No, something made it happen. And you have to address, acknowledge, and appreciate it all. And when I say appreciate, for the bad things, I'm not saying appreciate in a good way. I'm saying that you have to appreciate it in the sense of acknowledging and acknowledging its meaning and its worth. Um, these people. Okay, and its worth, and you have to be willing to do that. Hold on a second, I gotta read something. Mandy, you said my father talks about this all the time and will tell anyone he talks to. He admits that he used to be racist and did not realize it until his grandson came along. Amen to that. See, those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. Thank you, Mandy, for that. This is important. It's important for people to do exactly, maybe not exactly, but somewhat of what I'm doing. If you want to see some of these posts, I can send them to you, whatever. Or maybe you should just start scouting around some of your friends and just see what they're saying when it like this. So her name is Lynn Malden, Lynne, Malden, Malden. Um, and again, she's just like the last person. If you put that name in with the E on the end, make sure she comes right up. It's not a problem. So you can look at all this. She said, oh, and so at the end of that, I invited her again. I can even show you that. I invited her to come on here. I told her I'm still waiting for her, so on, to come on here and do the live stream, and I can even put her on the phone if she wants to. Let's see. Then she says again later in a text, I'm tired of living in the past. She writes me a message that says, Obi Morant, is there anything to discuss? Everything I post you don't agree with. I see things different. That's exactly why you have conversations. If you don't, you have conversations. If you're a type of person that only wants to have a conversation with the people that you agree with, you need to check yourself. You need some closet time to sit down and figure out your life. I don't need to rebuff my own opinion. I a lot of times, and please guys don't hate me, but a lot of times I don't read the messages that I get from people that I know are going to say something good. Why do I want to? I don't need that. This is not to pat myself on the back. I want to talk to, and the only way to form solutions is to understand the other points, the other ones that are not yours. If you don't do that, you're never going to create this unity that she's trying to say she's interested in. There's no way. So, but she goes on to say, one day maybe you, as in me, will understand that you can't do a thing about the past, only the future. History can't change. I prefer to live in peace. My choice. All that sounds wonderful, and that can be somebody's great reasoning or excuse to not address these things, but it doesn't change them. It doesn't make it okay to not acknowledge it, because if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. That is not a Obi Morant thing. I didn't make that up. That's God put that into action. If you are not a part of the solution, you are part of the problem. And it doesn't matter how big part of the problem it is. You can't just sit back and say, ooh, I want peace and love and happiness. Because it doesn't happen that way. Because it's not just you in the world. There are no single solitary people. Just in case anybody wants to know out there, I'm saying this for the people that might be listening to me walking around. There is no such thing in the universe as just you and just everything you want, just everything but. There's no I all the time. There's no such thing as that. Your girlfriend might make you feel that way. Your boyfriend might make you feel that way. Your kids might make you feel that way sometimes. But guess what? There's no such thing as it when you enter the world that we live in. When we have to interact with other human beings, there is no such thing. I don't know if it looks too glary to you, but the sun is kicking my butt. But there's no such thing as just me. You guys got to remember that, because you know this cure, we don't know what it is yet, and we're not going to know it until we get certain principles in action in our daily living. Mentally, you got to train your brain again. You know, you got to start looking at things. And the first, I think, one of the besides acknowledging that prejudice, excuse me, that racism exists, we have to acknowledge that we must change, we must grow, we must develop at all times mentally. Most people who know me know that I'm probably one of the silliest people in the world, and I like to play in Walmart, one of my favorite places. Maybe they'll endorse me at some point, I'll get inside a buggy. You know what I mean? I just love being playful. I love cartoons. I mean, every day I do the things that kids do when it comes to that kind of stuff. Where I play some of the little Looney Tunes games instead of playing Warcraft and all that crap. I watch Disney movies and cartoons because it's so fun. It reminds me of my Munchkin and some of my nieces and nephews, and um, so that's kind of who I am, outside of music and outside of this. But that's the whole point, is that there is an outside of my life. There's an outside of the things that I'm comfortable with and outside of the things that I like. There's other people, millions of them. And we're going to come in contact with hundreds upon hundreds of them, if not thousands, in our lifetimes. I was privileged enough to go tour all over the world with the Backstreet Boys for a couple of years, and it was like awesome. But the point is that interactions everywhere you go with different people. And if you're like I am now, you want to understand all the different people. I want to know why people do things. I want to know why people like certain kind of music that to me sounds like, what? You just want to know things. And the moment that you stop wanting to know what everybody else, not being nosy like what is everybody doing, but when you get to a point where you feel full in your life and you know enough and you don't need anything else knowledge wise, that's dangerous. Just telling you, it's very dangerous, because the world is moving. The world don't stop when you stop. Just like technology. I always think me and my Munchkin had this conversation last night, about cell phones and all the things that they can do, and game consoles, and some of the graphics and stuff in the games. And then we were talking about the little blips that we used to play when I was a kid. And then I thought about my dad used to play this thing. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's called Kick the Can, where you literally run down the street with a can and kick it. And that was their Nintendo back in the day. So, so because things are constantly evolving, then we have to do the same thing mentally. We can't just believe the things that were spit into our ear holes when we were little kids things about hate and things about dislike. I don't like this person because of that and this and that and the other. Um, because if you just stay with that, what happened when you was 5? One day you wake up and you're 25, and you're the only lummox. I love that word, and I'm sorry for saying it. That might sound mean, but you're the only person who didn't change between 5 and 25 with your thinking and your principles and building your character. Our characters grow into something. I'm not the person I was when I was 20. I'm not the person that I was when I was 30. I'm 51 now. I'll be 52 in December, and I love chocolate and balloons. Anybody who wants to know, December 12th. But the point is that um, I've changed, and I change every day. Every time I read new stuff, every time I study something else from Republicans on online, a website online, and then I search for the same thing for Democrat side, and then I go to another site to find out, somebody that's like standing in the middle, independent or what have you. I want to know what are they thinking and why are they thinking it? Why do they like this and why do they support that? Why do this and so on? And because my mind is not satisfied with just saying this is the way it is. I'm just gonna find my happy place and chill. Now maybe when I'm like 92 and I got no more teeth left, I'll do that. Hey, what's up, Joe? My big brother's on the thing. So people not directly infected by racism are always the ones claiming it isn't a problem or it doesn't exist. High five, brother. I was just saying that if you heard. And so that's my big brother. Hey, Joe, you gonna come on? You want to come on this weekend or Sunday or Wednesday? Let me know. Hit me a message, text me or something. All right. So, but yeah. Um, so because of evolution, and I don't mean evolution as far as some Big Bang theory and all that. I mean evolution as far as mental growth, mental change. Just like there's physical change, most people got taller, I stayed shorter, but because of change, um, physically, mentally, and environmentally, then other things change because of that. Other new things are spurting out and blossoming out from those things. And you can't be the only person that gets stuck in a place because when you do and you realize it, I don't know if there's such thing as too late. I don't think God allows that, but it's going to be a heck of a road that you got to clean up. I have literally recently, because of doing this thing here, have talked to so many people that literally are just thinking about what we're saying and what we're talking about on here. Some of the conversations that keep going when I'm done, and I sign off, and you guys keep going talking to each other, and continue conversation. And I'm telling you, I'm watching people interact and engage each other that from two different sides of the earth, and something is triggering each other to want to know more because of this, not because of me, because of this, because I didn't create this, and so that's what's needed. There's no way in the world that it doesn't have that anything changes for the better in your life as an individual if you don't accept that there is always change. Again, you do not want to be the person that's stuck and you realize it 10 years after everybody else realized it. So, anyway, so enough for that. So, I mean, I'm not going to keep going with her, but, I told you her name, and, and, excuse me, I'm going to, again, right now, I'm going to start reading some names. Um, Hopefully, from me reading these names, it will give you guys a heads up on who are spewing things. Now, let me tell you this before I do that, is that there are a lot of people who have said horrible things. I didn't read those. I just read the ones that that a few that are so um, mixed up and negative thinking and leaning, and with little hate sprinkled in and a little ignorance sprinkled in. I'm not calling someone ignorant. I'm talking about an additive of the comments, and um, so I just read those. I didn't read the messages that I get where people are saying "f me," "f my thinking," "f this," "f that," and all that kind of stuff. And if anybody is participating in this and they're communicating with you or your friends and they're doing those kind of things, please let me know because I'll get rid of those people off of this platform. But again, I kind of like to have some of those people there so that I can know what the other side is thinking. I want to know that if I'm giving you a high five and we're drinking a shot, one day you're not the guy the next day that's trying to hang a brother on a tree. So I want to know what everybody's thinking. So just in case any of those folks are tuned in, no, I am on your page. I'm from the messages that I get. If you're my friend, I am 100% looking at your messages so that every week I'm going to have one day out of each week where I will read the names and some of the posts that are either nasty, mean, um, or racist leaning, and I'm going to um, name off the people that are involved in the conversations and name the people that authored those conversations. Let me give another note real quick. So when I say these names, if there's any that you need repeated, um, again, I am always accessible. My phone number is on my profile page, which is where I'm doing this live stream from. And then my phone number's there, and my email address I think is there. But you guys have me here on Messenger too, um, and so you can text me, you can call, you can whatever you feel like doing. It's all cool. I want to be accessible for the conversation, and because of the fact that I have certain limitations because of some of the physical stuff that I go through because of this chronic Lyme disease battle, this is the way that I can get to people. So until I get a different way, then this is what I'm going to be doing until all my teeth fall out and I breathe my last breath. So here I go with the names. If I mess up your names, I apologize. Okay, so again, this is going to be a partial list of names of people that participated in these conversations or authored these types of conversations that are Facebook friends of mine. Some of the people I know well, some of the people are friends of friends that I don't really know, some of the people I kind of know, and some of the people I know, I think I said it really well. Let me also say that, let's see, um, you will also find that when you enter these conversations, it is very rare that you see anybody from any other ethnic group involved in the conversations. Rarely you'll see maybe one black or brown person come up, maybe, maybe somebody Asian American, maybe somebody, but very rare. This is something that you have to take that and put it in your head, because there's something weird about having celebratory conversations about something negative, letting those threads go on for hundreds of messages trading back and forth, and you're talking about a viewpoint with only people who believe what you believe, and they all happen to only be white. Let me say that again. You have a conversation on Facebook. You have a million friends, some of which for Facebook friends are black, darker, black, brown, um, um, Hispanic, Asian American, whatever, other places, other people, other colors, and yet you're having these negative connotation type of conversations with only white people. You have to know that there's something wrong about that. Like when you look through the thing and you look through your friends list and you say, wait a minute, I have about 100 of my friends are black, but none of them are ever in these conversations. Why is that? But you know why that is. Saw that little move I did? That wasn't your computer or my computer freezing up. That was just a pause. So anyways, so you got to pay attention to all the different angles of this. So here are people, again, that create, author these kind of things that I read to you today, that are um, that are either anti um, other people of other ethnicities of color, or borderline. In other words, they're hinting at it, or they're excuse me, anti-Black Lives Matter. Um, uh, they are people that don't believe that racism exists. They believe that everybody's equal, or they believe some strange way that that black people have so many more advantages, which I read to you earlier. So it's these people that are in these conversations. They're either participating or authoring. Here we go. First name, Russ Massengill. Russ Massengill. Jason Papotto. I'm not sure if that's right. Papotto. Oh, let me tell you this first of all. With Russ Massengill, we have 308 mutual friends. So check your phones. Jason Papado, we have 379 mutual friends. Check your phone. Melanie Austin Neal. Tim Mabe, that's M as in man, A-B-E. Tim Mame. Gary McDaniel, I'm going to start going faster now. Gary McDaniel, Doreen Stanley, Terry Brady, Billy Stout, Sandra Warren Grubb, Carol Lockamy Ward, Michael Norman, Daryl McGrady, Stacy Sorensen, Jay Gunn, Chuck Spicer, Wayne Jarrett, David Cox, Jeff Irvin, Steve Tuttle, James Robinson, John Rahankamp, I don't know how you say it, Rahenkamp, Tuggy Turner, Kevin Parrish, Cynthia Denise Martin, Donna Friddle, Jason Carr, John Doyle, Stephen Chandler, Matt Lipscomb, Cindy Martin, Lori Scully, Lynn McEmore, Theron Hooks Jr., Patricia Ponce, Shannon Doss, Talent, Rodney Williams, Tyson Fanning, Debbie Lynch, Ron Hamilton, Mark Osborne, Todd Burns, Jackie Beal, that's Jackie with a Y, Shirley N. James Stout, Shirley N. as initial, James, probably maiden name, Stout, last name, married. Rocky Lanarelli, Leg, and I'm not sure the pronouncing, it's spelled Legge. So my apologies for that. Let's see. Scott Hicks, Jennings Best, Tammy Long Mangum, Gary Gardner, Wes Carter, Randy Kendrick, Dale Rutter, Kenny Odell, Robbie Stevens, Heather Lewis, Angela Stanley, Christy Wyrick, Jim Rumley, Donald Jarvis, Richard Byron Jones Jr., Beverly Swaim Roig, that's Roig, Mickey Steffi, Melissa Slayton Davis, Jeffrey Eugene Hilton, Nathan Harden, Tim Bryson. Again, anybody just tuning in now, these names that I am calling off are my friends on Facebook who either are the authors or the participants in conversations that either have hints of racism, or completely all out racist conversations, or negative or hateful speech against a group or another. They are all groups and conversations that include only white people in those messages. I read through the threads. I look up all the people. Like I said, I mean, most of these people, they have 215, 300, 170 something, 300 and something. Those are the counts of mutual friends that we have. Okay, so I know who I'm talking about. All right, and not that I know them all personally, but that I know that that they are white, which is what the point I was trying to make. Let's see, Jenny Morris Seance. I'm sorry, Zayance. That's Z as in zebra, AYONCE. I'm sorry, but I don't know how to pronounce that. Let me get a sip of coffee. Okay, here we go. Derek Whittington, Sue Ostrom, Lisa Anderson, Jeff Marshall. Again, the purpose of this is that I would like you to please, if you know any of these names, go look at the what do you call it, threads, the conversations that are going on. If you know these people, it might be something you need to know about them. You might want to engage them in the conversation if you don't believe like they believe, and help them to see another way, another side of this story. Let's see where we are. Danette Marlowe, Dolph Everest, Buster Carter, Wayne Spencer, William Lee Griffith, Mac McClellan, Michael Staley. Let's see. I think that's the end of the short list. Oh no, wait, yeah, it is. Wait, hold on. My phone is okay. Yeah, so that's the end of the short list. I want to talk about a couple of things. Again, look at those people. If they're part of your, a part of your friends or friends of friends of yours, if you recognize those names, then check into those conversations so you can know what they're talking about and know that it's not just me saying it. Also, if you want this list, just contact me and I'll get it to you. If I spoke too fast and you couldn't hear the names, or it sounded like somebody that you're familiar with or whatever, then I have no problem sharing this with you. They put it on Facebook for everybody, so here it is. I wanted to tell you something else, and I forgot about it. So the statues of the racist military folks, um, slave owners, some of them, um, but some Klan, so many hate things involved, and how many people are coming to the aid with the person in power. They're in agreement of the fact that these statues and these things, this legacy of America, which is literally only a legacy of white America, um, they 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 should these statues and things shouldn't be touched. I don't know what's wrong with people. It's like when if you acknowledge that somebody was like a serial killer or something in your community, and but that person had a statue at your school where your kids go, wouldn't you want that statue to come down? I'm just saying. But these people are fighting to keep these things up. I, it baffles me, and they claim Christianity as the reason that the legacies and whatever. God did not send Jesus down here to burn black people, to put people in slavery and bondage. He sent Jesus, his son, down here to break the chains of bondage and so on. So you know, please, if you belong to the group of people that subscribes to hate, if you belong to the group of people that subscribes to racism, oppression, and so on, please do yourself a favor and freaking look up some of these things, man. Go to. This is the one thing that I do know. Even though they don't teach us in school what exactly Christopher Columbus did, eventually, if we do a little bit of research on our own, we do find out that he did not discover America. Ta-da! But in elementary school, that's what they taught us. They taught it. They put that thing on every. We celebrated it, and we had to draw pictures of him and all that stuff, and put it with American flag and all this crap. Man, people, learn. Open up a book. I don't mean to sound harsh. Open up a book. And open up your ears and hearts to other people besides yourself. Open it up. Let some other stuff in so that you can see why there is so much protesting and why there's so much grief and pain and hurt in black and brown people's eyes and lives and hearts. This is not funny. I told you about the thing that the guy posted the other day that almost it broke my heart. I'm sitting there, and it's a picture of a shirtless lady laying on top of a dude. She don't have a shirt on. It shows to an angle that her boobies are over the guy's face, and it says I can't breathe. And that was supposed to be a joke. That was the first time that I didn't say something nice to somebody on on any platform, and I let this person know about it, and then that person deleted me. Well, first he said I don't give a f word, and then he deleted me, and that's fine. Again, let me reiterate something. Well, first, but let me finish that thought. There's nothing funny about joking about the last words that any human being, but I don't want to, but I specifically mean black men that are saying I can't breathe because white police officers are putting them in chokeholds, putting knees on their neck, and so on. There is nothing funny about it. There's no way to joke about it. Figure it out quickly, because the thing that people are trying to accuse people, for example, like there's this group of brothers that now, oh excuse me, black men that have that started doing this thing where they carry their licensed armed weapons, their weapons that they have licenses for, and they carry them to different sites and stand there, and or they'll go to a place where the protests are happening to make sure that the large groups of white militia folks that are showing up with guns, uh, uh, that they can show kind of an equal, have a kind of an equal standoff, I guess, so that there's not the bullying from the other side. But let me make something really clear. It seems that whenever the white militias go to a protest to try to scare protesters off, or in the past when they'd show up with the Klan rallies to try to ward off or scare any anti-Klan people. It seems that that's okay, but when five people with guns go to a place where there's a statue of a racist person in South Carolina or in Virginia or, I mean, everywhere, when a few black people show up with guns, oh my gosh, the world is in an uproar. They have the same licenses, same guns, same reasoning, protection, so it's supposed to be, but yet if if white folks do it, it's all right. They can march up and down the street with guns, but if black folks come, few black folks come with guns, then oh my goodness, the black people are wanting to terrorize the world. I don't understand how things can be seen so, what's the word for that? I forget. But so opposite. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I understand why people do it. But do you? These are things that you have to, but you're not going to know if you don't see it. You got to see it. Don't let nobody tell you. Don't even let me tell you the information. Anything that I say to you, you should be looking it up after we're done. See if there's a flaw in something I'm saying. Correct me if I am, or correct yourself if I'm right. Whatever. I'm not here to be right. I'm here to inform and to be informed. So, but you know, you can't have it both ways. You can't say I want to carry guns. I have the right to firearms. I'm protecting my land or protecting my streets or whatever. But then, what? Black people can't protect as well? I'm confused. Very confused. How can me carrying a gun be worse than I'm 5 foot 6'5"? Anyways, I'm short, and how can it not be okay for me to carry a gun? I got the same license you got, but if you say what I've seen before in face to face, 6 foot tall, 300 pound, looking like he can like eat a table, dude, white guy with guns, and a bunch of his buddies that's about the same size, they can carry guns, and oh, they're just standing up for their rights as Americans. What? So when people wonder why are we still living in the past, because we're not. We're living in the present that still has so much from the past ingrained in it. It's in there, like it can't come out. But we're trying to squeeze it out. And I'm wanting somebody on this to see that. If I can touch one person to study this and and then go to do some self-analyzing and come out a little bit different, or at least with some question marks, that's awesome. We did it. We've done something. But it can't stop there, because then you got to keep going. You got to keep on soaking up stuff. You got to keep on moving, keep on getting stuff. And um, and if when you do this, you can't be worried about what the results are going to be, because we're not in charge of results. I believe in God, and so I believe that God uses me as a vessel to do a specific job. And then there's other jobs that are not for me to do, and so it goes into somebody else's hand who feels convicted to do that. That's how I believe. Everybody has their thing. So, but at least if we can get people really interested in this conversation, and that means you white people, if you can get really interested in this conversation enough to research beyond the things that Fox tells you, or CNN tells you, or that guy in the office tells you, or whoever other, usually Republicans or hard right thinkers, or however people say it, if you could just let yourself think that it's not just those things that those people are telling you that are right, and you're just supposed to stop there, because they're not the only people that exist. One day, that person in that office, he's going to be kicked out of that office, or he's going to lose the election, or he's going to, God forbid. I don't want any person to die when they're not supposed to, but maybe it's his time and he's gone. Who are you listening to then? You have to find something that makes you want to soak up some information. You have to have something inside of you that has to say, I want to grow as, like I said earlier, like people's bodies grow, like the nation grows, like businesses grow. Well, our minds should grow. You can't be a person that claims to be all strong and powerful and knowledgeable and whatever, but you don't let any other information in except for the stuff you like. So, you have to find out if there are 100,000 people, and that's not even the number, but just if there was only 100,000 people that believe that something is wrong in this country, and they're constantly telling you something's wrong, why aren't they right? Even to a fraction, why aren't they right? Like, how can you walk around and you say there's no such thing as racism? How can you do it if millions of people are saying that it is? And then you have millions now of white people and other ethnicities that are walking alongside of black folks. Sometimes there's some of the marches and protests that go on, and there's not even any black people there. I was almost laughing the other day when I saw one of those happening. So if that many people are saying something's wrong, be mature enough, woman and man enough, young adult enough to do some investigating, to do some checking out what's happening on the other side of the street. Ask your coworker who's black or brown skinned, or your neighbor who's black or brown skinned. Ask somebody, or ask a book that is not, Webster's dictionary. Ask a book written by a black author. You know what I'm saying? Like, do some real research. Don't just go to the right side website. Don't just go to the left side. I'm talking to everybody here. Go to another side that you know, or you at least believe they don't believe like you do or think like you do. It's easy to find. All you gotta do is open your eyes. Oh snap. So, anyways, I have gone way over this week, but I hope and pray that somebody got something out of this today. And let's see, uh, Sunday, 7 p.m. Um, it's on again. I'm hoping to have one of my brothers, and my mom is going to be on soon. So you guys gotta be. My mom is very, very white, and you'll understand that when when you get to hear her. But she's like my white superhero. My mom is. She's amazing, and but she's going to come on soon. And let's see, and then some of my other actual brothers, not the terminology slang brothers, but my brothers are going to come on, and my sister, and then a bunch of friends, musicians, and so on, and hopefully some of these other folks that have opposing views that I have invited over and over and over again, um, they will show up, and we can have them on too. And that way, because the point is to have everybody feel that they can talk and hear and be heard on this platform. Don't forget to look back later. If any of the names that I read off to you earlier are names that you know, please look into if they're your friends, please look into their pages, whatever the heck you call it, and see what they're saying. No, be informed. What are people saying around you? You know, I don't know what happened, but again, I say that for some reason, uh, people forgot what actually happens with social media when you become friends. You actually are giving people accessibility to what you're thinking and saying. So it's a good thing in some respects. It's a bad thing if you're being bad. That's all I can say. So, anyways, check those names out. If you know them, make sure that you talk to them. Make sure that you talk to everybody else. Alert other people that this kind of negative, hateful talk is happening all around you from people that you would never know. Listen, I love you guys. Thank you for spending an hour and 45, almost 46 minutes with me today. I appreciate you stopping by. If you didn't get to stay the whole time, I hope you look at it later. I'll be putting it up everywhere, just like always. And um, you know, Sunday night, 7 p.m., same black time, same black channel. Love you.